The 31st Walk and Run to benefit the AIDS Action Committee will take place on June 5th. To tell us about the event and some of the ongoing programs is our guest from the committee, the Director of Gay Men's Services, Keith Orr. Thank you very much for being with us, Keith.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
First of all, you know, this is so much different from a few decades ago about the sense of hope. So we talk about the reasons for that.
Well, yeah, there's a real different sense of urgency around what we're doing now. So as many of the viewers may remember, the AIDS epidemic now in 30 plus years of time has really seen an incredible arc in our country and around the world. And now there are a number of new interventions that can help prevent HIV and, more importantly, can help folks that are living with HIV live a very full and robust life. So we're excited because there's a new sense of optimism around the ability to stop new infections and, more importantly, to really increase the quality of life and the longevity of life for all those that are diagnosed already living with HIV or with AIDS.
Well, I know the science is out there, so if you get screened, that can make things better. But you got to, get people to be screened. You got to have the follow-up. How do you make that work?
You still have to do the testing, exactly. In Massachusetts, we're very lucky. We have a very robust support system in this state. Our Department of Public Health on a statewide level and our city, Boston Public Health Commission, both offer a tremendous amount of resources to our organization and other organizations to allow that testing to happen. We've recently started working with a very intense prevention team that is working to do just what you've said. It's not just getting folks in the door to get them screened, but should that test come back with a positive result, we want to get that person connected to medical care for all intents and purposes immediately. Now we find that treatment, when offered as soon as possible when someone is newly diagnosed, portends a much better outcome over a long period of time. And the second piece of this is the other piece of what we call an HRN, or a high risk negative. And that's a person that is still HIV negative, but maybe experiencing some level of risk in their life through the interviews that we have with them or through their self-described behavior. We want to work closely with that person to try and offer them all of the interventions that are now available to us to help that person remain negative. And that might take some intense public health work, but we think we can do it.
What about people living with an HIV infection because they need access to care, they need medications, which can sometimes be very expensive?
They do. And we're, again, fortunate in the United States and here in Massachusetts as well. We have very robust public policies in place. Most of those medications for folks are covered under federal programming, so that cost of the medication is covered. Getting someone connected to that care continuum, as we like to call it, and keeping them connected is really the most important part. We refer to somebody who's taking their regular HIV medications as being undetectable or virally suppressed. And that's the ultimate goal for folks that are living with HIV, is to take medication so that the amount of virus in their body is really controlled in a very, very substantive way. We're very lucky in Massachusetts, again, through the policies that we have and through public health outreach. We've got about 60% of the people that are diagnosed with HIV in Massachusetts already at that undetectable level. We'd like to be much closer. We'd like to see 95% of those people, because two things happen. One, the individual that's HIV positive has a much better health outcome. And second, when someone is undetectable and is medicated around their HIV, their ability to transfer that virus to another individual is basically removed. So they become not infectious and their own health does better. Two pluses.
Well, one of the things that's also current is the transgender rights bill at the State House. And at first, a lot of us think of it as, that's access to public accommodations, but it's also about access to care, too.
It is a tremendous access to care. And if you think about it, there's a lot of folks that have a difficult time having a conversation with their traditional primary care provider about just their sex life and about what goes on in their life. Now think about it if you're questioning your gender identity, or if you're dealing with some sort of perceived or real judgment on the care on the part of your provider around that service that you provide. So we work with a transgender health navigation team to work with those individuals as well. Transgender women, unfortunately, although representing an incredibly small segment of our population, unfortunately do have a very high HIV prevalence rate within that community. So that's something that we're working very closely with and trying to address in all of our outreach work.
Well, talk about the cross-section on the walk, because I guess if you see this cross-section, you say, well, they're just like all kinds of people.
It is. And, for many years, we're in our 31st year for the AIDS Walk this year. Our tagline was "from all walks of life," because that's exactly what it was. You saw a cross section. We get about 8,000 to 10,000 people that come and join us on the first Sunday in June. Many of them come to raise money for our organization, and it's an important part of the fundraising that we do throughout the year. but even more importantly, and all of those that work within AIDS Action and within the AIDS service family in the greater Boston area realize it's also a day to raise awareness and consciousness, and also to remember those folks that have passed as well. So we have a wide variety of people that join us for a wide variety of motivations, some in memoriam and in retrospect as they look back on those that they've lost, and others hopeful for a future where they may not have to walk again on a Sunday, on that first beautiful sunny Sunday in June.
Now, I know you have a separate website just for the walk, and the way this is, of course, along with having details about the event, you can pick teams that you might want to support.
You can join teams, you can get involved in any number of ways. You can become a volunteer for the walk, so if you don't want to walk but want to help support us, you can do that as well. We run contests throughout the walk period as we're getting folks to get incentivized to join. In fact, we have a great one coming up later this month for folks that sign up and join. We have tickets to that incredibly hot new show in New York, Hamilton, and a hotel stay, so folks can win some incentives as they also spread the word about the walk that they're going to get involved in.
It's going to be on June 5th, and where's the route going to be exactly?
It starts off at the DC Hatch Shell right there on the Esplanade. If you go to AIDSWalkBoston.org, all one word, AIDS Walk Boston, you can get all the information about how to join, more information about the event, and also some information about where the money that we raise during the course of this event, how that helps impact the work that we do.
Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks.
Keith Orr from the AIDS Action Committee.